Hello friends, it's Amanda and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I was going to take you through kind of a full week of baking where we do some kitchen staples in my house but also some new things. And today I wanted to challenge myself by making sourdough croissants. Now I've made croissants in the past and usually haven't had the patience for making them correctly, but I was determined to get this figured out. Plus, after I got my sourdough starter healthy again and pretty robust, I was excited to again challenge myself with this recipe and see if I could do it. So I have been working on this particular dough for about a day and a half. And we are at the stage where I can roll it out to length and then cut it into shape so we can roll it into their signature croissant look. To do this, I'm rolling it out to a 24 by 11 inch rectangle, and then I'm going to cut the pastry every 2 inches on each side and then just cut some triangles. I will leave the recipe for this and the other recipes that I used in the description box so you guys can check them out. If you haven't noticed, I had to start this process very early in the morning. I just got back from the gym and these are going to need at least 5 hours to rise. For me, this actually took a lot longer, probably because my dough had been in the fridge overnight. So it took a lot longer for my dough to rise, but that's why we had to get started early today. Before I let these hang out all day to get nice and fluffy, I am going to brush them with water. I will do this periodically throughout the day as well, just to keep them from drying out. So we are now later into the morning here and I'm getting started on some cinnamon raisin bread. For this recipe, I'm using my normal go-to sandwich loaf recipe, except I did add some sourdough discard just because I had a lot and just used a little bit less flour and water than I normally would. But if you don't use sourdough, you can still make this recipe with the normal flour and water ratios. So to do this, I am just going to take my dough and split it into two so we can make 2 loaves. And I'm going to flatten this out just to get it into a nice rectangle. The width should be about the length of the pan. And we're just going to sprinkle some brown sugar and some raisins and some cinnamon onto this rectangle. And once everything is fully coated and the raisins are evenly dispersed, I'm just going to roll it up. Doesn't have to be too scientific here. Just roll it up nice and tight and pinch in the edges so that nothing comes out when it's baking. We'll then repeat the process for the second half of the dough. I learned this trick from another creator at This Golden Hour, and she pokes her bread with a fork, and this will keep your layers from separating, but also so that top ridge or the top crust does not separate from the rest of your bread. So it has been about 7 hours later and my croissants are starting to puff up. I realized after cooking these, I may not have let them rise long enough, but regardless, we washed it with an egg wash and then put them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes, and they just turned out beautifully. So I was really pleased with the color and the taste of the croissants, but I do think I could have let these rise even more before putting them into the oven. Our next baked good are some sourdough flatbreads. I got this recipe from Amy Bakes Bread, and I am just making these to have on hand. I really enjoyed this recipe, and because they're sourdough, you definitely have to plan in advance when you're going to make them. So what I like to do is make them and put them on my griddle, and then you can just freeze the cooked pizza dough and pull it out, put some toppings on it, and then bake it at like 425 for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you've got some fresh pizza. We've really enjoyed having this, so I'm stocking up my freezer with this fresh sourdough flatbread. Our final baked good this week is chocolate chip cookies, and my intention for this recipe is basically just to stock up my freezer, similar to the sourdough flatbreads. What I'm doing here is I'm making a double batch of my favorite chocolate chip cookies, and I'm going to portion them out and then just freeze them in cookie dough balls. That way, when we are ready to have some, we can just cook them from frozen in the oven and have fresh chocolate chip cookies. I would have considered myself a pretty spontaneous person when it comes to food. Usually I have to be in the mood for something whenever I want to bake it. So cooking in this fashion where I'm making things in bulk and freezing them is something new to me. However, after having kids, I realized how nice it is to have things accessible, whether they're pre-cooked and frozen or half-baked and frozen, just so that when the time comes that you are in the mood for it, you're not pulling out your kitchen mixer and all the ingredients just to make it. It was fun to bake something when we were in the mood, but then also have a lot left over to utilize for the future and to kind of help future me out. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you to do some baking in your kitchen. I would be excited to hear if you made any of these recipes. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy seeing how I try to make motherhood and homemaking more fun and efficient.